Hi everyone and welcome to my podcast, Lucy May Walker and Friends, and today I'm joined with two very good friends, the Dunwells.
Hey, how are you doing?
Where do we work? That way.
So I wanted to do a podcast with you guys because you two are my favourite musicians in the world.
Thank you.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a
a
big
bold
thing.
statement.
It's true. And I want to start with how the Dunwells came about. Go back in the day.
Back in the day, like way back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your brothers.
It's unfortunate, really, that it does go that way back.
Yeah.
Like
like-
it's so
we don't
much.
need to say years or anything.
Almost like the
No, you-
prehistoric years.
Yeah.
Dave's that old.
Pardon? What was that?
No.
So I couldn't hear it. Go on, you start it then, and I will just and I'll jump in whenever I feel like you.
So, Dave started playing guitar at the age of 16
Quite late, really.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
and learnt enough songs by the age of 18 that he was running local open mic nights and playing local pub shows. Is that about right?
I started when I was 16. I learnt these handful of chords and a few songs, and then started doing the open mic nights. And the open mic nights where we were from were still quite niche, but really popular.
Mm.
So there wasn't that many of them, but they were always really busy nights. So I would go, and my dad would take me, or a friend who used to run the open mic nights, a guy called Ian Elliott, used to drive me around to wherever these open mic nights were going. And I started playing. I was really unconfident as a kid, so it was a really cool way for me to actually even just engage in a conversation with anybody. It was really important for me. Like, before that, I didn't have a clue what I was doing.
Well, you're not shy now.
No, thank you. Thanks.
Then when he was 18, he decided that he was going to go travelling, and then started working for Key Camp or Eurocamp, pitching tents. And he took his guitar out there and developed more as a musician, and then came back. And then roughly when I was about 16, I saw that he was just having the time of his life, so I decided to copy him.
Oh.
Learn how to learn how to
Taught
play,
him everything he knows, kids.
learn how to play guitar, and by the age of
Oh,
18, I was pretty much following him around the pubs and clubs.
So when
yay.
Joe first started, this is kind of like just before he started playing. He's always been a really good singer. And I remember I was like this time period, this 18, 19. I was sat in this, it was like it's kind of like it was, as a kid, it was our playroom, but as we got older, it wasn't the playroom anymore. It was more like just like a little room that had a TV and things in it, and our guitars were in there. And I'd be sat in there and I'd be playing the guitar, and Joe would come in, and before he would come in, we'd start singing harmonies together, and we'd been doing that for ages, like some weird Osmond family. And it was like a party trick. Every time my dad had a party, we'd end up singing together. And he came up to me and he said, "Shall we do some singing together?" And I remember turning to him. I remember there's 5-6 years difference between me and Joe.
Mm.
So, and I'm 18, 19, and I just look at this little kid and I go, "Joe, I'm getting older.
I was in like a football kit. I'd just come off the park or something like that. He was like,
It's time to take it more serious now. I need to take music much more serious. I can't sing with you anymore." I
broke
did.
my heart.
Oh,
And I remember him turning around and walking away. And I was a kid, so I didn't realise I was not a kid, but I was young, and I was just wanting to take me, and I didn't want to be singing with my 13-year-old brother.
Because I guess it's a little bit uncool. You're not uncool.
No, it wasn't
I
cool
do
at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it was at the time. It's quite understandable, but it was. I feel
So at that point, I decided to be in competition with him,
Good.
try and get better than him.
I remember there was this moment where, as I say, I was playing these open mic nights. I was running a few, and I was going to as many as possible. And that's kind of how we lived our life, you know. And Joe had started to play at these open mic nights. Now I promise you, it's not an exaggeration. He learnt 3 chords. I'm ready.
What chords
Said
were
a E minor, B7, and then like
they?
I know, what a weird chord to learn.
because it was easy to go from the E minor to the B7, and then I did like a slide down to a chord that I don't even know, and then I wrote a melody on top of it. I was like, I wrote a song. That's it. Started playing that song everywhere. It was horrible.
And no, actually, I think I remember you
wanna
doing
hear
it, and I
it.
think people were like, "He's good, yeah. He's not as good as his older brother, Because I mean, I knew
Did
every
anyone
song
say
in the
that?
world. Yeah,
Yeah.
in the
Just-
world, like I had the lot.
I didn't hear
had
it.
Wonderwall.
I was like blindsided.
I had
I'm
the
better than
lot.
Dave.
I could, yeah. And then I remember there was a definitive moment. Maybe we were in a pub called the Jug and Barrel, which wasn't too far from our house, and I remember somebody saying, it wasn't directly at me. It was a passing comment, and it was a respectful comment to both of us. But it was a moment where someone went, "I think I prefer Joe's voice," and that was the first time I ever heard it. And then that was obviously the speed. It was a natural ability that Joe had.
Because we were never playing together. He'd play a song,
Yeah.
and then I'd play a song, and then
We were at Bojangles, weren't we?
yeah, it was at Bojangles. I went to Dave's open mic night that he was running to play my songs.
Did you let him?
Oh, of
Yeah.
course,
He
yeah.
always let
No,
me-
always wanted
It
him.
was like he pushed me to become better. And then there was this audience member. I think there was about 5-10 people in the audience, so it was like a small deal. She was like, "Do you two play together?" And we said, "No, never really played a song together." She goes, "But there's hardly anyone here. Why don't you just try it out?" So we tried it out, and they were like, and then she owns a bar in the Yorkshire Dales, and after hearing us play one song together that we'd not rehearsed, she was like, "I want to book that." So she booked it 2 months later,
No way.
Yeah.
and we had to learn a set, just the two of us. So we learned a bunch of covers, just me and him.
And Joe had this Citroen AX 3-door, 4 gears. It was about 10, 15 years old when Joe got it. So it was a really
It had
old, clapped out
It had
car.
mould on the windows and everything.
Yeah, and I remember getting into that car. I remember it like yesterday. Getting into that car, clunking through his little CD player that he'd fitted himself.
Yeah.
With all the CDs that we've got, and just listening to Damien Rice and Counting Crows, and like anything that had this somber, melancholy tone to it, because that's just what we were into.
We
Radiohead.
We drove up to Hall, up to the Yorkshire Dales, and it was an hour and a half away, but it felt like it was the longest drive ever. Like,
We'd travelled.
do you know what I mean? We'd gone out of
Big deal.
It was a big deal. We stopped about 5 times for sandwiches and wheezed, you know.
It was like, whoa. And then when we got there, we were the kind of people that felt like we'd been travellers and telling people we'd come so far. Like, oh, we have travelled today.
So do you still know that woman?
She's called Tiny, and every now and again we bump into her
She's
again.
called Tiny.
Yeah, yeah, she's called Tiny. Yeah,
As in
and actually,
very small
ironically, she
Tiny.
is tiny. Yeah,
Right.
she's quite.
So
She's-
So
she
I
was
don't
with
think she sold that bar.
It was her mum's place,
So
and it was
Her to thank.
and our village was called
well,
Hawes.
yeah. I think we'd have found a way to play together at some point, but she kind of pushed it
Yeah.
faster.
What was the song that you sang?
It was Ain't No Sunshine.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
It was Ain't No
And so
Sunshine.
did you start like harmonising together?
Yeah.
And that brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we
And,
said,
and because it was in A minor, and we both knew the chords in A minor, we kind of went from the Ain't No Sunshine to what's the other song called?
Hit the Road Jack.
Hit the Road Jack,
Oh.
and then into Feeling Good, and like basically every song that we know in A minor we just played, and it was like this big mashup, and we were like,
I think there was a good
so much fun.
long period where I just played the cajon.
Yeah, well, he played a djembe.
A djembe there,
I
that's the
don't know
one.
what that is.
Oh,
It's like a round drum.
Okay.
I don't know where it's from actually. Like, it's like a skin tight over it.
And when did you start writing together?
Probably that year. You know, like that year we were.
Were you writing songs individually?
I was
before
writing
that?
songs individually. Dave was writing songs individually. And David done little EPs that he was selling on local bars and stuff like that. And I'd done one small EP. And then because the Yorkshire Dales gig went so well, we were like, we've made it. Let's record an album. We recorded our first album, Dave Dunwells. We recorded it.
No.
Yeah.
We recorded it in my house. Well,
Was it covers?
We,
or?
no, all
no,
originals.
all original.
Oh,
We
wow.
wrote a song the day. I
In
remember
the morning.
In the
and
morning,
then we'd go
we
record
recorded
it in the evening.
and then we just did that for 12 days, and then that's our
Brilliant.
album.
We called it our album.
And actually, some of those
That's the name
songs
of
were
it.
songs
No,
that made
it was called. I think it was.
It was called
It
Sunfield
was called
Drive.
Sunfield Drive, and a lot of them songs off the Sunfield Drive album made it onto the first Dunwells
Album that we
Blindsided
recorded
Faith album.
in Austin,
So
Texas.
in theory, all of them were demos to help us to
That's crazy.
get the record.
We're actually missing one really weird, funny story as well. So in all of this time period where we were doing open mic nights, and we played this one show in Hawes, I got a phone call and I joined, which I would say probably was my first professional. As I said, I was running open mic nights and going to them, but I wasn't a professional musician. I was working, and I got my first opportunity to kind of go professional, and it was playing actually with a covers band. And it was a band that had been established for years. They were called The Silver, and it allowed me to kind of travel up and down the UK with a band in the back of a van. It was great fun. It was really fun. But what happened was I, in one of these shows that I was doing at open mic nights, a local radio station called Pulse, they approached me. They're a really cool radio station.
Yeah.
So they approached me and they said, we're running a Battle of the Bands competition. And we're going to run it on our radio station, and the prizes are pretty big. You get to support a few big bands. There's a few companies that have been, doing endorsements with it. So like you get free drum kits and all sorts. And we'd like you to come and do it. Do you want to get a band together? Yes. I was like, yeah. Except I then at the same time got offered this opportunity to go and play with this band. They had commitments, so I had to join that. So I had to ring Pulse and make a decision. Do I turn down this opportunity that has bookings years in advance, or do I do this one competition? And I rang Pulse and said, I can't make it, but my brother can take my place. So because it was so late in the day, they took him because they couldn't fill the space any other time.
Even though you weren't a band.
That's
me and a guitar.
Funniest thing. So he has literally just learned how to play 18 months before. He knew a handful of chords. He wrote a handful of songs. He'd recorded those couple of songs. One was Hey girl, turn that frown around. It's really like, I mean,
it's not though.
And he goes and he stands up, and I went, and actually, as it happened, I finished my show early enough so that I could go and watch his performance.
The final, yeah.
Yeah, because I couldn't make the heats. That's the reason. But he managed to get through to the final. He only went and won the whole thing. Wow. Stood up there totally by himself against all of these metal bands, funk bands, jazz bands. There was so many different great musicians, and he just stepped up playing his little song and won the entire thing.
Amazing.
I won a drum kit. I don't know why.
You still got it?
I sold it to Johnny.
The drummer, the original drummer
of the band. So, yeah.
Wow.
So then, moving on, I was running open mic nights.
Oh, you really did copy your brother.
Pretty much copied him, word for word. And then we met a producer called Dave Craffield, who saw me and Dave playing together and said, "I'd like to record a couple of songs with you."
Is that Declan's dad?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Declan's dad, Declan, who is a videographer who is in the studio directly below us. As Joe said, his dad came up to us at an open mic night. That we were just having a night off from playing shows and playing together. And he said, can we take it to the studio and record it?
Absolutely.
At which point Joe knew Dave Hansen from open mic nights in different places. And said, oh, well, I can get these guys together and play. Neither Joe or I ever felt competent enough really we knew how to play guitars and sing, but didn't know lead and all that sort of.
Yeah.
And then he knew a bass player, so we got the original bass player of the band, Lee Dawson. And we knew Johnny Lamb, who was the drummer up until he stayed in America after all the tours in the US. He joined the band straight away, and originally all we were doing was putting a band together to record these two songs.
These two songs. And then we recorded the two songs, and Lee Dawson was like, we should take this down to London, because that's what you do. You record some songs, you take it down to London, and you try and get a record deal. And he was like, yeah, we should take it down to London. I know this venue called the Bedford in Balham. I'll ring, because I played there a couple of months ago, I'll ring Tony Moore at the Bedford and try and get us a gig. So he got us a gig down at the Bedford in Balham. We went down, fell in love with the place. And we basically just kept on going from Leeds to the Bedford, just to play, because it just had this such an atmosphere, and it was like so.
Well, we played the first time we played it. We played to not many people, but as Joe said, the atmosphere was incredible. And then the first time that we played it, the atmosphere was incredible, but there wasn't that many people, and everyone. And we went down there because our contact was Tony Moore. Now, Tony Moore was he was a booker, an agent in the area in London. He also was probably the closest thing to like a celebrity kind of person that we knew. He was the keyboard. He used to play in Iron Maiden. He was the keyboard player from
The Cutting Crew.
Cutting Crew. I just died in your arms tonight.
Yeah.
And we were like,
Legend.
we need to meet this guy. He's cool, but we never got a chance to meet him. And then we got booked for an indoor festival that was running there called Sugar Butter. And Tony Moore was going to be there. And we got on the bill, but right early, we were like 12 o'clock.
The first band on. Doors open at 12, we're on at 1 minute past 12. Do you know what I mean?
So we pile in
I'm doing right now.
to at which point Joe had just bought this amazing van. It was really old and it was kind of falling apart, except for it had everything electric. It had electric curtains.
Oh wow!
Oh yeah, it was
Fancy.
really cool. I mean, the thing was falling apart, but it was like cool. It looked the part. And we set off driving down.
We got all the way to London Gateway, which is the services just before you get into London.
Okay.
And the van broke down.
So you didn't play?
So we sat there kind of thinking, right, we have to call it AA. The AA are going to have to come out and get us.
And they will only take us back to Leeds.
Or we leave the van where it is, get as much of the gear out as we can, ring a taxi company, because this is before Uber.
This is before
Uber. Still like a 2-hour taxi journey. And we were like, we could just pile it all in. I think it cost us maybe 150 quid in the taxi. We were like, we either do this or we don't.
Because we were like, we've got all the way down here. It's like, this is, in our eyes, it was the biggest opportunity that we've ever been given.
Yeah.
And we made the decision to just get in this taxi and go. And we got on stage, and I think there was 3 people in the audience.
Yeah, we got in at like 10 to 12. But Tony was
Moore
there.
Was one of the 3.
And Tony Moore then asked us to do a handful of other things on that evening, that day. And then, I mean, it is speeding it up a little bit, but this is how important it is to make those decisions, is that Tony Moore's the one that said, I'm running a stage in Memphis.
No, he said, I'm running a stage at South by Southwest.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're ready for that yet. I'm also running a stage in Memphis called the Folk Alliance. I'm going to run a Bedford stage at the Folk Alliance.
Oh, wow.
He says, but I think you're ready for that. And we were we had 5 songs, 6 songs as a band. That was literally it.
So we just spent a month and wrote more songs. We just literally wrote more songs and sat in Lee Dawson's garage and learnt them all until we had a 60-minute set. And then on that, we went to Memphis. And we stayed in one room. It cost us £6,000. We did a fundraiser. Because of the Bedford, we'd made friends with
Lucy Silvers and Jamie Lawson.
You've got so many Lucies in your life.
I know, there's a lot of Lucies. But there's only one.
Lucy Silvers.
Yeah.
Oh.
So she came and she saw us play at the Bedford and she loved us and so said when we were doing the fundraiser to go to Memphis, she was like, "Oh, I'll come and help you out," and she came up and did a 30-minute slot.
Yeah, did you know that this is a really funny story, a weird story about it? This is how amazing she is. She hired a car and she drove up to Leeds to do the show for the fundraiser because we'd announced it on the bill. And then she says, "I've got to go back to London." And we're like, "Okay, you're more than welcome to stay." And she went, "I've got another show."
That night.
And it was Gary Barlow's birthday party. But she's still committed to our show.
That's so cool.
Wow. How cool is that? Like, what an amazing person. Because what she allowed it to, she gave it enough.
That night alone,
make the money.
That night alone, through other fundraising, we raised about £6,000, which is what the cost of flying out to America was.
Wow.
We stayed in one room, 6 of us.
Wow.
And we did the shows, and we got offered a record deal, publishing deal, and management deal.
No way.
On that weekend.
So if you didn't go to the
Sugar Butter Festival, who knows where we'd have been?
That seems like it all happened very, very fast. Or is that just how you're...
No, kind of from the edges, from writing songs to getting signed, it was like, I started writing songs with Dave at 18, and we got signed at 22, so 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 5 years.
Yeah.
6 years.
From forming the band, from the Dave Creffield writing and recording, and actually saying that we are the Dunwells, that was October 2009. And then we did the Folk Alliance in February 2011.
Yeah.
So I suppose that was pretty quick, that period. But it was so intense. There were so many things that we'd done. We'd had so many people that were helping us along the way that we made friends with. Pablo Cafanero was one. That was like, we went through the Bedford again, making friends with them, and they made us a feature. So we ended up being like single of the week. So we did a tour around the whole country playing to coffee shops.
It was amazing, yeah.
It was kind of like busking in a coffee shop. But
yeah, my friend Charlotte's doing that.
But it's cool. I recommend it. I think it's really good.
Good to know.
It's not instant gratification because it's not like, yeah, I will. Yeah, we will do. Yeah, because you'd be perfect for that.
I don't drink coffee.
Oh, you're out.
They do good hot chocolates.
Okay. And you got really big in America, didn't you? Is that
so? Yeah, we went out to America in 2011, February 2011, signed the deal, and then in 2012, June 2000.
Yeah, it took like over a year for the paperwork to get there.
Wow.
It's because of Joe's weird requirements. You know, it's like Dave, isn't it? It's like, I'm not signing this unless I get to wear nothing but leather.
Classic Joe.
It's never happened.
Classic Joe.
That never
Classic Joe.
We've all heard stories.
Yeah.
So the record deal was in America.
Yeah, it was with Blind Traffic.
And he signed us a management, publishing, and deal. Then we went. Then he flew us out in June 2012 to record the first album, and we in Willie Nelson's studio in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, that was weird. Rob was working at Volkswagen at the time, so even when we signed the deal, Rob quit his job. Me and Joe, we had enough work locally. We carried on doing the open mic nights and singing whatever it did to pay the bills. You know how it is. And then we went to Austin, Texas, and we all got put up in a house right in the middle of Austin. It's the first time that we'd really spent real time in America.
Yeah.
We were there for 3 weeks.
And we were there for 3 weeks. And we would get up every single morning and drive, do the 45-minute drive down Bee Cave Road, and then go to this cabin and stay there till late at night, and then come back home again. And we had a handful of days off, and there was a handful of, during the tracking process, there was moments where, there was days where Johnny would just be in doing drums and we'd be off. It was really organised. Time, the time was, because we were only there for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then we'd played a handful of shows while we were there as well. Tried to keep quite busy. But it was our first ever experience of, even though that we'd recorded the 2 songs before, it was our first time ever kind of being in an environment where it felt like you were making a record to release it. Like this is going out into the world, and it's not just something that you're just doing for a bit of fun or to kind of justify what we would. It was a strange thing. It's like you're making it for like money exchanged hands, and there's a reason for doing it. It's going in the shops.
Did you feel like at that point that you'd made it?
Oh yeah.
Was it like the signing thing? Was that the moment where you were like, "Oh, we've made it," or was it all of this?
All of the experience is really. It's like, especially when we were out there for the album, recording the album, nobody could do enough. Everyone was like waiting for us to create, like, as David would say, this masterpiece that would then go on the shelves and just sell millions and millions and millions and millions. But
did that happen?
No, no, it didn't.
What happened?
It did well. We went out and we we released the album.
Yeah.
And it was released on Playing Traffic. We're still with Kevin Womack, who is he's our US manager.
Oh, yeah.
We still continued that, and actually he's involved with our publishing as well. Still, but he's always had our best interest at heart. He's a really great guy and he's a really great manager, and he decided that it would be better if he basically had another record label, someone who's bigger, take on the project. So we toured the first album. It's really strange. Normally, have you released much? You've released your EP. So you've done, how long, when did you release that?
The second one,
Yeah.
like a year ago.
So it's not weird to wait. another 6 months is it, then release another piece of music.
No.
So normally it's like 18 months, 2
Yeah.
years, you kind of shop it, and then you get ready and make another album, off
Yeah.
you go. So we'd recorded and then toured for 18 months on this one record, and then Kevin then sold. I don't know about the legal requirements or anything, but then Kevin basically gave the rights to the record to another record company, and that was called Concord Music Group, and that was based in Beverly Hills 90210 LA. Like that was one of the moments you think, is this actually really
Wow.
happening?
That was we felt like we'd made it then because we'd signed the deal with Concord Music Group and they did this whole, because we're English, they did this whole like grand unveiling of the new British band that they'd signed, and we played outside to all the staff, because when we first recorded the record, the staff was Kevin and his team of 4 or 5 people. So there was Mary and there was Whittaker. So I think there was like 5 people. And then when we licensed the same record to Concord Music Group, there was hundreds of staff that were going to be working this record. So that we did this like party at Concord Music Group, and they made tea and scones.
Yeah, they tried to do like quintessential like British English.
British.
British. They had like the
So
British.
weird.
They had the British flags everywhere. It
Oh,
was amazing.
sounds very exciting.
So because we did that, we did the 18 months, which you would normally expect, and then we did another 18 months on the same record. The only difference is that we repackaged it, and we added another track.
One more song.
We did another track with
George Dekulius.
George Dekulius. But he produced our record. He actually flew over to Austin and we recorded it back in Will Nelson's studio again, to kind of keep that consistency on the record.
Mm-hmm.
We spent 9 weeks driving around in a van just doing promotion on radio.
Not the old van.
No,
No.
a slightly better van
Grounded.
now. Yeah.
That kind of all of that time
This is now taking us
pulls us up to 2013. And it sounds like that was a long time, but we actually released our first single in 2012, and then we started recording the second album in 2013. It was just because it was so like compressed.
It was
mental. Like we'd go out to America for 9 weeks, and then we'd come home for 2 weeks, and then we'd go back out to America for 6 weeks, and then we'd come home for a week or 2 weeks, and then we'd go back out there for 6 weeks. It'd be like, and it was so intense. It was like the most intense time of our life.
And were you both married by that time?
Yeah, I was married.
Dave was married.
And I had Lachlan, my eldest.
Yeah.
Lachlan was 4 weeks
God, that
old
must have been...
when we flew to Memphis.
Wow.
Yeah, he was 4 weeks old, and we flew out to this Memphis. So when people say, when you asked us, did it feel like you made it? I think that throughout all of that time period, there was so many other emotions going on. There was guilt. There was
4 weeks old.
Like financial strain. There was so much commitment from how could you say no to these great opportunities, but in the same sense you really feel like we literally would get home from a 9-week tour, and on the last week of the tour we were told that we get 6 weeks home, and then we've got another 5 weeks out back in the US, and then I'd have to go home, and my wife has always been understanding. She's been great, but you can understand how much pressure that would put on anyone, really.
What a saint. That's a good thing. Like, I feel like that's a good thing that you've got like work life, if you want to call it that, and then this family life. But you seem to like do a really good job of juggling.
We've not always done that, but we're getting so much better now.
A lot of people would have like, once they've had their first child, go, well, I'm a dad now, so this is my life, and then I'll work on my dreams after that.
Yeah.
But you've managed to.
Yeah, but I don't think Dave's always had it in his head. What would he do? Do you know? It's like, oh, what would I do? And same for me. Like, what else would I do other than music? I have no passion for anything else. So
it's a good job it's working out then.
Oh yeah. I think this place has been really good for us. Just to get in, because when we first worked with you with that in my loft.
Yeah.
That was the first time that we'd ever had an area, a space. that we could really say like, okay, this is where we're going to go. Before we were sat on.
You were the first recording in this studio.
Yeah, you were.
I think the reason why we got this studio was because you were.
Yeah,
you said
no.
You said, "Oh, I'm going to. I want you to do my EP or a couple of songs for us," and then all of a sudden we were like, well, "We can't have Dave's dog. Well, you're strolling up. Oh, we can't have dinner. We can't
Kids
go. Right,
doing-
we've got to stop recording. It's bedtime for the kids now. So we're kind of. You gave us the nudge in the right direction.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it was like because you had you and Christine Burrows and a couple other people that all asked us to do some finished recording work as opposed to just, well, you know what writing's like. It's like it doesn't really matter as long as the writing gets done. The demo is just something that we listen to or we'll show our teams of people, but the world doesn't hear it. But then when you're actually thinking about making something that's going to be on your Spotify or the shelf Spotify. It's a new app that's out. It's all right. It's kind of flying. We wanted this anyway.
Yeah.
And so it
wasn't this.
It was a nice. It was a nice opportunity.
We were standing on the edge of the cliff anyway. So.
But I get really jealous when I see that you've got any other person in the studio apart from me, and I don't think I'll ever not be jealous. And I just I want to call you and be like, oh, can I come in? Like, do you need some help?
Any session that comes in, you're like, hi, come in, yeah, and that's Lucy. You're just sat in the corner.
She lives here now.
Some issues. She's working on them.
She's just like snarling at him.
So I guess we'll talk about how you've made like the transition, because you're still doing you, but then you're also working with a lot of other artists. When did you start co-writing? Has that been something you've done all the time?
Second album.
So like I said, we
skipped a big chunk there, haven't we?
Well, we got to 2013 and we decided that we were going to record the second album. And me and Dave had been doing our research, and we were like, we fell in love whilst we were travelling around America. We fell in love with a band called Codaline.
Oh yeah, heard of them.
And in particular, one song, that All I Want, and the video.
I'm going to put High Hopes. And the video, was my first one.
Yeah. And the video, I think the concept between the video and the music, it was just sort of like it was amazing. So we were listening to that and we were like, this is the kind of vibe that we want for the next record. Mm-hmm. And then we researched on who it was that produced it. We found out that it was a guy called Steve Harris. Rang Kevin up, our manager, and said, we want this guy to produce our next record. And he said, okay, cool. He did his research. And then he found out that Steve Harris was in Seattle. We were finishing our last tour in Seattle.
No way.
So he was
like, right. 2 weeks before the UK date started.
Yes.
Wow.
And this was at the start of the tour. So we were in New York at the time, and we'd just been told that we had to find a new producer, and that the record that we had been touring at was totally finished. So that brings us to the end of the tour, Seattle, waiting to get him.
Meant to be. We turned up in Seattle and there was no Steve Harris anywhere. They literally couldn't find him. There was the number that was on the thing. It was like a forwarding number to another person. It was just they couldn't find him.
Not meant to be.
Not meant to be.
Oh.
So then we flew home.
Yeah.
And we landed back in Manchester Airport with a message on our phone. Kevin said, "Give us a call." Called him back, and he says, "You'll never guess what. Found Steve Harris."
Brilliant.
Steve Harris lives in Driffield, which is an hour and a half away from Leeds.
He actually lives in Yorkshire.
No way.
Yeah.
So cool.
We're in New York dreaming about working with an artist that lives in Seattle, feeling like it's all over, and then landing, and then Steve Harris is there in Driffield waiting.
What the hell?
So we had a meeting with Steve in York, which is like a halfway meeting point from Leeds and himself. And then we just started recording the next album with him at his studio in Driffield, in like a little farmhouse.
That's crazy.
So I always feel like whenever we start making records, children come into our lives as well. So we had just my second child, Cameron, had just been born when we were making that album. So we'd find ourselves in Drayfield, which is only an hour and a half away. But we'd be working till like quite late at night.
Yeah.
10, 11.
So we ended up staying in accommodation over there Monday to Friday and working early morning till late at night.
Oh, no.
I know, poor Claire.
Again.
Yeah.
Not again.
So that was kind of really intense. But then when we finished it, we then had the US guy, the European guy who works for the US label, come over, and we had this big listening session. And we sat and we listened to all 13 tracks that we recorded. He was called Paddy, and he was great. He was really he offered some really great advice, and he's really behind the record. However, we'd been left until that moment. We'd been left to our own devices,
like completely A&R the whole project ourselves.
Okay.
And as much as we had a clear vision, in the grand scheme of things, Steve Harris was very experienced as a producer, so it's not taking anything away from him. But he was getting the best out of what we wanted, and we were 100% clear on what we wanted. And so after we'd finished it, quite rightly, we were a bit frustrated at the time, but quite rightly, that amazing famous sentence came from the record label. That was, "I like the record, but I can't see the hit on it."
Oh, no.
I know, and we hated it at the time. We were like, no way, like, do not say that to us. We've just, like, my wife's been home, 2 kids. Yeah. We've been making this record. Please don't say that there's not a hit second, because we thought there was.
Yeah.
But we were so in it. Like, we made this great record with the producer that we wanted to work with. We'd written 30, 40 songs.
Wow.
All demoed on our phone, because we didn't know how to record. And this is quite...
Actually, we pulled some of the demos from the original, like, Sunfield Drive album.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
And we took some of the, like, snippets and put them on loops, and it felt like one of the most honest things that we've ever made. You know?
Yeah, we did actually. Yeah, Sleepless Nights was just a sample. Because the only recording that we'd done is that Sunfield Drive, and that was on an old PC with a free version of Cubase, and that's all we had.
And like a 58, a Shaw 58, SM58 microphone. So.
And for those who don't really know tech, that's just a normal standard microphone that's been around since 1970, right? So it's like there was nothing technical used.
So we felt like we'd recorded the best version of whatever we was trying to record, and then the record company said, "Would you be up for doing songwriting sessions to try and find this next song?" We're like,
no way. We're not writing with other people.
We'll try it. We'll give it a go.
We don't need anyone else.
No.
We did. I definitely felt like that. Because we've always been writing together anyway, and I thought, I don't want to write with other people because I feel like my word's not good enough and my melody's not good enough. And then we did our first few sessions and totally got it.
Instantly fell in love with it.
It was like, this is not...
I think our first writing session was, or one of the first writing sessions that we did was with a guy called Dan McDougall, who wrote Hurts with us. Which is
it hurts.
That's the one.
I know it.
And we went down,
You're
and
testing me.
We went down to London to do it, and it was like game changer, wasn't it?
Yeah, because what writing... I don't know how writing sessions feel like for you. I thought what a writing session was like is like... It's like you do your best when you're writing, and that's like... Imagine if you're like a runner, you sprint and off you go. Whereas I felt like a writing session was someone's going to help me do this sprint and tell me how to sprint. But
felt like you were cheating at that point.
And actually what I found is it's not... A writing session is more like a relay. Like, you sprint as fast as you can, you give your best thing, and someone else goes, "That's great," and takes it on to the next. And then they sprint. And before you know it, you travel so much. You make something that would never have happened by yourself.
That is genius, what you just said.
Yeah, isn't it?
Oh my God.
Have you said that before?
That's
No,
the first
time.
Honestly.
Sometimes.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
But that's so true.
Yeah, because it's no less work. In fact, actually, sometimes there's more because you feel like you need to step your game up because there's other people in the room and your idea hasn't been...
Yeah, and like when you're writing by yourself, sometimes you can go, "I'm done for today.
Oh.
This song's a shit song," or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you've got a third person or a second person in there who's like, "Actually, no, that idea is great. Let's try work on that bit," or like you pull each other through have you ever been in a writing session where there's a massive lull in it and you
Yes.
think this is just not working? Then all of a sudden one person goes, "Nope, we've got it."
Yeah.
And then you walk out and you've written a song.
Well, even like yesterday we were writing and I came to you and I was like, right, I know what I want to write about. I don't really have anything, but I've got this little hook, but it's way too pop, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
That
Great.
did that. And then you were both like, yeah, well, something like that. And then we ended up going, no, that's exactly what we need. But you turn it into something that maybe I wouldn't be able to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Sorry, back to you.
no, but that's why I love writing sessions, and I love collaborating with other artists. And I felt like it was 2014 that we really started writing more material, and we literally were every single week we were doing 2 to 3 songs in different areas of the country. We were writing in Hastings with Blair McKitchen. We were writing in Birmingham with Bid. We were writing in Glasgow with Katie Sutherland. It was like, and we've met so many amazing people, and all with like different stories on how their careers have gone, and just that felt like this is the world that
It also kind of solidified it for us, like realizing that you gotta imagine, like it wasn't even a world that I knew existed. So then all of a sudden you find yourself in other people's houses, and they've got a nice house and a nice lifestyle, and you're like some are richer than others depending on their hits.
Yeah.
But they exist in a. I wake up in the morning and I go to work and I define work as
creating,
writing songs, creating,
and
I'm watching my little creations with all these different artists doing really well. I mean, Katie Sutherland was she was watching The Hunter at the time. She'd written a song for The Hunter, and it was blowing up, and it was great to see it. It was like, oh my God, this is what you would never think that she would have an investment in the success of that band.
Yeah.
However, she has a great investment in the success of that band.
For 2 years that we were specifically writing just for ourselves, and we must have written 40 songs.
That's ridiculous.
To add 5 to the record.
That's a crazy amount of songs.
Yeah.
But
so to add to the 40 songs that we already had, but we'd recorded 13 with Steve Harris, and then we took 5 of them off, and then added 5 from the 40 that we wrote.
Yeah.
And we then had an album. That was the Light Up the Sky album.
Great album. Which one was did they give this one's a hit?
Lucky Ones.
Lucky Ones, which it
wasn't a hit.
We are the lucky
Although it's still like done us really well.
Yeah.
Well done.
Well, you guys say lucky.
Lucky. I don't know why I put an accent on when I said lucky, because it's just our voice.
I feel like you do when you sing it.
Lucky.
We are the lucky ones.
Yeah.
Lucky.
I reckon you milk it a little bit.
I don't think we do. It's just Yorkshire accent.
Lucky. After all of this period of being back home, which has now gone like 18 months, nearly 2 years, of constantly writing. And we were, as I say, this was 2013 that we wanted to start work on it. The album didn't come out until 2015. Second album.
Part 1 over. I'm done.
Okay, hello, it's me. I just thought I'd let you know we had to stop recording then because we're having some sound issues coming from next door. So we had a little break, wrote a song, and then we come back now to part 2 where we talk all about the wonderful world of co-writing.
So welcome back to part 2 of Lucy May Walker and Friends with the Dunwells.
That was really musical. You can tell we've been writing a song for the last 2 hours.
That was unrehearsed.
I might use that as my jingle.
After the Light Up the Sky album, so we've talked about that.
Light up the sky.
After the Light Up the Sky album, we were kind of like, right, we've got the album, we've written the songs for ourselves, with other people for ourselves. Let's get into the world of co-writing with others for others.
Yeah.
And that's where you come in.
I can't have been the first.
No, we started it because we were filling a publishing library, so we were trying to get a new publishing deal, so we'd write and then we would have other people singing songs that we'd written. But with just the idea of getting as many songs so that we could send them to our publishers, and then that then became like more and more writing sessions, and then all of a sudden you came knocking on our door.
No, you asked me to write with you.
Yeah, we did.
And that terrified me, the idea of writing with other people. And
now you love it,
no,
don't you?
huh?
Now you love it, don't you?
Now I'd rather write with you than without, but not to blow your own trumpets, but also the fact that I knew that you were like my musical heroes.
Oh,
and I know
who's trying too hard now?
No, but it's true. And I knew that like you were like some of my favourite songwriters ever, that I was kind of probably a little bit insecure about the fact that I would come to write with you and that you might think she's not great.
Yeah, but you are great, so it all worked out.
You make me better. So when you go to co-write, is it always people that you've got some sort of connection with? Do people come to you, or do you go to other people, or what?
Mainly like, so if we play a show and we go, oh, they're great, love to do some writing with them, or
definitely people.
we went on tour with Lucy Spraggan. She asked us to go on tour with us, with her, and during the tour we were like, oh, we should do some writing together, and she co-wrote Diamonds with us. And then we
diamonds in his eyes.
Yeah.
In his eyes?
Yeah.
It's in his eyes.
And then and we, on her first album, we co-wrote Hey William. So it's like, you know,
Hey William, mate, I know all the songs.
Do you do anything but listen to music?
Just your guys.
yeah. So yeah.
And that was on tour that you wrote those.
No, just we talked. It was spoke about on tour that we should do some writing, and then post tour, we met up, went to hers, did some writing for her, and then she came over and did some writing for us. So it's like, you know, I like what I love about collaborating is that you kind of walk into a room and you don't know whether you're writing a song for yourself or you're writing a song for them or you're writing a song for neither of you, but you're going, oh, let's write a song and then pitch this to whoever, the next whoever. But a song is written and created in a day, and I just find that fascinating. Like, you walk into a room with no concept or idea of what you're doing, and then you walk out of the room at 5 o'clock in the afternoon with an MP3 of a song to listen to.
Still no concept of what we're doing, but an MP3 at the end of it.
That's crazy that we can do that.
I love it. Isn't it? Yeah, to say that we'd gone from standing in the studio in Austin, Texas, to like not having a clue what was going on and everything, having to fly to Austin and be stood in a studio with all this fancy stuff, to then fast forward to the fact that we can just create music that I think is closer to the original idea, closer to what we wanted to originally do when the song was written. I think that's miles better. Like, really interesting way. I think it's taken out the element of having to learn.
I really feel like the Dunwells, that's in what we are, has a sound. So if you want to kind of not create that sound, but if you want to have elements of the Dunwell sound, then people want to come to us and write with us, which I find also fascinating, that people want to work with us because they want to have that sound.
Yeah, because you've written with like all sorts of bits. So like you've written with me and Meg O'Neill, who is country, and then Beth McCarthy, that is
pop.
So pop, and it's cool that you can put a little like your stamp on it, but it's all like so different to your music as well. Yeah,
because I think the song is only as good as the artist that's coming in who's going to be performing it. You mean a Lucy May Walker song is always going to sound like a Lucy May Walker song. It might have like elements of what we do and influences, and sometimes you can hear it like melodies. I think Joe definitely was involved in that melody, but more than like 99% of the song is what Lucy May Walker is. It's always got to be that, because the minute you open your voice and start singing, doesn't really matter what anything else is going, you literally turn it into your own. And that we always find that whether it's a country song, we always said that we've never changed the way that we've written music ever since the very start. That idea of one instrument, one vocal, can it stand by itself? And then
Campfire test, you said.
Yeah.
yeah, campfire test. Yeah,
Play
I think
it
I
on
stole
if
that
you can
from
if you can
Monk
play it
Fest.
on an acoustic guitar, and it hold its own, then it's a good song.
And then everything after that's just dressing it is how you make it sound. And if you want it to be a bit more country, you add these flavours to it if you want it to be. So
Would you ever say no to someone?
No. I literally would work with anyone because I think that you don't know what's going on in their mind, that they could have like this nugget of genius that you go, that's what I've been looking for.
And the producing side, when did you get into... Because you produced my EP.
yeah,
That was by accident.
Okay. Because was it like a do-it-yourself thing and you ended up...
No, it was, we were going around doing all these co-writes, and then we would write the song with the writer, really, and then we'd go, just love that production. Why don't we just buy that production? So like the Hurts, that was it, we went in there to write the song. We came out with what everyone goes, oh, this is just a demo, and I'm like, but that's more than a demo. That is incredible. And what's the point in recreating that?
Yeah.
So, and then people would come to us and write a song with us, and they go, like Christian Burrows, he came to us to write a song, and he went, I just love that production. I want that production. I don't want to take it anywhere else.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, there you go, have the production. And we were like, I'll take it with producers now. Oh, it was
quite. I also took different approaches to all them songwriting sessions. I was looking around the room at all the equipment that was in there. So every piece of equipment that we made to use your record, the microphone's the same microphone that Joe sang Light Up the Sky. I was watching that, whereas Joe spent a little bit more time working out how to keep a session always going. So he's quite good at just going like, okay, it's getting a bit stale here. So then he always picks up a guitar and starts playing some other chords. And I don't know, there is a
like I'm always
formula in how you do it. There's not a formula in how you make music, but there's definitely a formula.
and that again, that happened by accident because we're brothers and we do everything together. You don't need two people to press record. So Dave learnt to press in a record and the actual.
Basically, that's all I learned. Is that?
Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
he learnt that side of things, and I just stood and really put my focus on what is going to be best for the song. So I'm listening to everything Dave's doing as he's doing it, and I'm constantly listening to the song.
So, you're supporting Elbow.
Yeah, we are.
Tell us more.
So last year, well, this is how I hear it. Last year,
Yeah.
for my birthday, I got tickets to go see Elbow at Leeds Arena.
Nice.
And I went to go see him, and I stood there in complete and utter awe because I'm a massive Elbow fan. And I was like, two things that I want to tick off my bucket list is, one, I want to play with Elbow, and two, I want to play Leeds Arena. And then this year, we got invited to play with Elbow at Peace Hall in Halifax. So that's one down. Next one is Leeds Arena.
Yeah, what have you got coming up that you can talk about?
Okay, we've got a few things that we are going to be announcing really soon. We can announce Board.
Yeah, we're playing the Boardmasters Festival in Cornwall.
That's going to be cool. That's where.
Cornwall.
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 That's on the beach, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's in the beach.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know which one. There's like
I
six.
actually don't know what festivals we're allowed to announce until the drop.
Okay. So, you have an album coming out at the end of the year.
Yes. We've finished it. And we've got the artwork and we've got the 11 songs that we're
Mixed,
completely
mastered.
and utterly happy with.
Great.
And now we're just going to drop all the songs, but not at the same time. We're going to be like dropping single album.
You've got a first single that's coming out this Friday, which will already be out by the time this goes out.
It will.
What's that one called?
It's called Nothing Left.
Okay.
Then we're going to be dropping another single after that called Are You Sitting Comfortably?
Interesting.
Can't sing those ones yet, can you?
No.
Are you sitting comfortably?
Is that how it goes?
Yeah.
Any of the songs off the album did you co-write with anyone else?
So the single that's just come out on the 22nd of March, that was written with Miles Clark.
Nice.
We wrote that down in London.
Oh. I thought you said land air.
Yeah.
Is that well?
That was on the boat, wasn't it? That was on the...
Oh, that festival?
No, we wrote that on Pete Townshend's boat.
What's your favourite song from the album? Joe? Oh.
Coffee.
Interesting.
There's a song called Coffee. It's about boy meets girl. They go on an adventure together and experience life.
Dave?
Sitting Comfortably is pretty high up there. It was one that kind of slipped the net a little bit. It was one of the songs, and it wasn't until we started working on it I was like, blimey neck, this is an amazing song. But I am really, really happy with all of them. Our management, as we can say this, as a team, we all put our 10 penneth in to work out what the album was going to be. It wasn't just me and Joe, we're going to decide this. It was Kevin, Andy, Ben. We all had an idea on what we're doing. So when the 11 songs got picked and put forward, I was so happy that they were the ones that got picked. But we'd written so many songs that we were so pleased with. So we're kind of grateful that we had that input from those guys.
To back the album up, we're going on tour in May. We're doing 3 days.
Yes.
Well, I say it's a tour, but it's like a 3-day cross country, up down country. So we're playing London, St Pancras on the 24th.
Nice.
Leeds.
Nice venue.
It's a beautiful venue. And then we're playing Leeds on the 25th.
That's the church.
At the church. And we're playing up in Glasgow on the 26th.
Nice.
The full band back together.
Okay, cool.
Adam and Rob on the drums and bass, and we've got
We'll still bring Lucy.
Lucy Revis, who's our other Lucy. She plays the cello, so she's going to be playing too.
Oh, cool. All of you. Amazing. So, I'm going to wrap this up with saying, I think you're pretty successful anyway. But do you have like a dream? Because people ask me all this all the time, like, what's your dream? I'm like, I don't have one dream, I have many
Lots of
dreams and lots of little goals. What's your dreams and goals for the future of the Dunwells? Playing Leeds.
Played to headline Leeds Arena. Is a big dream of mine.
How many people is that?
14,000,
Well,
but they can make it 9,000.
If they can make it down to about 20...
Dream big.
Yeah, let's go full size.
Yeah.
So it's 14, isn't it?
We can do that.
We'll check that out. I think it's 14.
Okay. Yeah.
And to keep doing what we're doing, like the fact that we get to do what we do, make a living and pay for our rent and our mortgages and have kids and wives and survive.
Plural. Wives.
Henry VIII.
Kids and wives.
Some Mormon.
No, the fact that we get to provide for our families.
Yeah.
By doing the one thing that I love is a big deal for me, and I just want to keep that going for the rest of my life. So.
I think you will.
Like I'm a big fan of artists like Glenn Hansard, who was in the Frames, and he was in that film called Once. Have you seen that film? Like his career is just something that I would love to have. He's got a core fan base who just adore him and gets to travel the world and sing his songs and
David.
So I would say that there's certain physical things that I want to achieve, like playing the arena, the Glastonbury. To be on the Glastonbury bill would be amazing. I think that would...
Surprised you haven't already?
Yeah. Be nice.
Yeah. Me too. What
Me
they
too.
playing?
I'm really surprised. But I think I'm more interested in recognising the fact that we'd already kind of achieved the dream.
Yeah.
So I'm still pursuing the same thing that I pursued when I was 15 years old, and it's so hard to do that. Like, people don't keep one dream and go, off you go, and everything that life kind of throws at you, the positives and negatives, but still being able to hold on to that one single dream, automatic. And I would much rather keep progressing and just making sure that every day that I'm happy.
Yeah, that's the key.
It really is, like, because I'm as happy playing in front of 60 people in a house concert than I am playing in front of 600 people. As long as I'm getting the same feedback and I'm feeling like I'm getting that love that I feel like I want to, that creating that community. And as long as that keeps going, then I'm well happy.
And that all happens because you're playing your own material, do you know what I mean? You've got an ownership about it.
Yeah, I think it comes because you make the harder decision. We were talking before, if we wanted to just be musicians, we could just learn a big cover set and off you go. Make more money, much more money, go and be a corporate and do all that. But that's not what we're doing this for.
Yeah.
We're doing it because we want to feel like we've created something. We've made something and put it out into the world. And I mean, I'm speaking for myself, I'm not saying we as in you. Everyone's got different reasons. But to make some...
do it for the money, mate.
Telling you, Wonderwall, it goes down a tree.
Oh, yeah. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Shall we go for a pint now?
Yeah.
Let's go for a drink.
And that brings us to the end of this month's podcast with the lovely, lovely Dunwells. Thank you so much, guys, for coming in and chatting to me. And if you are enjoying the podcast, please do share it around, tell your friends all about it. And hopefully you are as excited as I am to know that the next guest for my podcast, which will be coming out on the 1st of June, will be with my hero, Jeremy Vine. Yep, that's happening. So make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you then. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba.
In an office with a man wearing a business suit.